morning. So, thought I'd do things maybe a tiny bit differently this morning. It's a beautiful day. I've been out since the wee hours of this morning because I had to take my husband to work. They were working on this big truck yesterday. And I'm going to take a little bit of a walk around my yard this morning just to kind of start out. I've already went for my morning walk, but I kind of felt like the need for a little bit more. While I'm at it, I thought I'd talk about a few things. The outline's going pretty well. I am in the process of, I pulled the cards for the Elixir. I'm about to start working on the outline part and make the video. I have some of this stuff to put together for you guys. You know, it's such a beautiful day already. And NaNoPrep, oh, it's like right around the corner. And I'm super excited. We have a little bit over a week left before NaNoPrep. I'm in a good place. I'm at a good place. I'm trying to figure out now how to finish up my outline, put it all into Scrivener, and then work on some character sketches and the inspiration board for the novel. I'm going to be cutting out pictures and printing things on my stuff that I found on Google. Anything and everything that remotely seems like it might be pertinent. I'm also ready to work on a few more things because there's some fine detailing to do. I think that once I get to that part, you know, I'll feel a lot better about it. My roses are coming along. These are looking so exceptionally pretty. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? I don't know if you can see, but the dew is still on the leaves. I have some little tiny buds on this one, but I need to come out here and trim them. I have leaves with these spots. It's time for me to go work on the video. Thought I'd do a little bit of a life vlog, add touch to this. Work on getting it all together. I will see you guys in a few minutes with the actual video for doing the outline part. Bye. Lesson 13, return with the Elixir. 'Twas Pirelli's miracle Elixir. That's what did the trick, sir. True, sir, true. Was it quick, sir? Did it in a tick, sir? Just like an Elixir ought to do. Stephen Sondheim, Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street. She started that out with that quote. I like that quote. So she says that the Elixir for her has been one of the hardest concepts. And she says that's because it's an intangible thing. That it's easier in fantasy to identify this Elixir as an aka reward, but in other genres of fiction, the item can be a bit murky. And she says one way to define the Elixir is as something that will be useful to the hero. More importantly, this knowledge will heal or help his community. His task now is to take the magic back. It's important to realize that it is not enough to get the Elixir, it must be returned. So the return with the Elixir, I drew the Knave of Pentacles. And then I drew the Hierophant. And then I drew the Three of Wands. Card 1, the Hero's Moment in the Sun, which is the Hierophant. What does that look like? Is it a kiss, a medal, a new car? Family is what he wanted. How will he get it back? Card 2 shows the downside. What new problems will arise? Standalone uses for what happens to the villain. I could be wrong. So the Knave of Pentacles, standing there like this. Let's get the book because I don't know. So let's see what the Knave of Pentacles says. Represents a person with dark hair, brown eyes. When not representing a person, Page of Pentacles indicates the beginning of material and practical ideas. This card can imply that there will be practical study the querent must go through even at the beginning of a project. Sometimes Page of Pentacles will indicate that the querent is beginning to get his financial affairs in order. See, this is the part that is confusing for me because I don't see how the elixir could be anything remotely about. It says it's element earth. So I don't even have a clue about that one. Looking at it, it looks triumphant to me. The knave must be the knight. So let's look up the knight. The knight is not moving. No, it's the page. Right picture. So the beginning of the project. So he brings back order. Maybe once I look up the other cards, maybe it'll help. So the Hierophant. Stability, endurance, patience. Tarot Trump is the major marriage card. It can also indicate conventional religious activities. Large institutions like the government, large business. So the idea of large groups of people, institutions, traditions all go together with this card. And let's see what the Three of Wands says. Turning one's back on a situation is shown by the man's back in the card, or is the man in the card looking to the future for better things? I really don't know. This card is throwing me. So I'm going to come back and I'm going to do a little bit more research and a little bit more reading, and then I will make another video. It'll be part 2 of the elixir because I just don't know. I think with Arwen's help I might have figured out what these cards mean for the stage that I'm at now. This is the elixir stage. And the elixir equals a reward. This is a reward that the hero has earned. It's very important. It is something useful to the hero. This is knowledge that will heal or help the community. Now it's his task to take the elixir back to the community, back to the ordinary world, and it's the final reward that the hero has gotten. It's a hero's moment in the sun. It wraps up loose ends. The elixir is also for the villain in that it is exactly what the villain deserves. Make their punishment fit the crime exactly. So here's what's going on. I drew the knave or the page of pentacles, the hierophant, and the three of wands. So the one that threw me the most, knave of pentacles, is the one that threw me. And I couldn't figure it out, so I asked Arwen, because I told her I was lost. Completely lost. And she's so sweet, y'all. She helped me. So she told me to break it down into one word for each card and find out what I come up with. For the knave, she told me that the knave is like it could be a love letter or a note from maybe the grandmother. It's also like a project is coming to fruition, coming to head. Your dreams are being seen, and it's also standing firm. Hierophant is what she said was a spirituality of rules, structure. And the Three of Wands is the anticipation. It's also like getting the cargo or the package or the check is here kind of thing. Looked up various words that had to do with those 3 cards. That I looked up the definitions of them. And these are some of the words that I got. Goals, dreams, projects, standing firm, ceremony, travel, commitment to future, along with what she said. So I also figured, when I was looking at the cards, I also saw that for my main character, things aren't quite as over as she thinks they are. With the elixir, I think some of it's a little bit metaphorical, and then there's also a little bit that's tangible. So we're going to talk about what I figured out. My main character, there's this battle right before this part. The main antagonist and one of his minions, they're in a room, and my hero is there, and she is trying to talk to them and get the witch who killed her grandmother, made a plea to go talk to them, and she's traveled to have a one-on-one conversation with the head of the Hunter Society, because she wants justice for the witch who killed her grandmother. Now, the witch wanted to be head of the coven, and that's simply not happening. So then she was half in league, half not, working for her own self. So she ends up in league with the Hunters. Well, my main character, when she goes before them, she's talking to the guy who's in charge, our big antagonist. He is the head of the Hunter Society. And she's asking to have the witch brought before the Grand Council of Witches, or sent to be before the Grand Council of Witches. And while she is talking, the antagonist asks her if that is what she's really there for. And she said, I want justice for my grandmother's death. She said, I realize that hunters may or may not have killed my parents and my grandfather, but this isn't about that. This is one of our own killing one of our own. And as next in line for my family's coven, for head of the coven, and I want justice for my grandmother. And this isn't about the war between us. This is about this witch. She needs to be held accountable. The witch there's no way she is going to go to the Grand Council. There's just no way. There's no way she's going to go in front of the Grand Council. They will strip her of her powers. She will be exiled without any powers whatsoever at all. There's just no way she's going to do this. So she starts screaming and fighting. Boy, she's putting up a fight. And she starts a spell. She's going to escape or something. Kill people, escape. It doesn't matter what she's going to do exactly. But the antagonist, the big guy, he snaps his fingers and she's dead. She screams and then she's dead. Makes you kind of wonder. Because how does he have the power to do that? I mean, aren't they killing people who have supernatural abilities? My main character has to figure out whether the witch being dead, the witch who killed her grandmother, has been killed by like means, because she sees her suffer, screaming, and then she's dead. That at that point in the novel, she realizes that she can't stand up against the Hunter Society at this particular moment. There's a lot she's learned, and she is not quite ready to stand in front of him. She's got justice for her grandmother's death. That has to be enough right this moment, because she has to go talk to the Grand Council. There's a lot that they need to do to prepare, because there's going to be a big battle between the witches and the hunters. There's going to be, and she's thinking maybe it's time to pull in other people into this battle against the hunters, because the witches aren't the only people being killed and persecuted by the hunters. They're not the only ones. She goes back to where her group is at, and they talk about everything. Well, she goes to sleep, and when she's asleep, she gets a visit from her grandmother. Her grandmother tells her, now that her killer has been killed. It was poetic justice, because the witch that killed her grandmother was, like I said, killed in a very like manner. She tells her, look, all these things that you've learned from our ancestor and from the Hunter Society, from the one who was an enemy and is now an ally, everything that you've learned, it needs to be brought before the council. And you guys need to meet up with the other people, the Fae, the werewolves. You need to meet up. Y'all need to discuss all of this, because you're not the only ones at risk. That's on her way being made to the family coven. End of this, the next part will be she comes back, they have a ceremony, she's made head of the coven, and she gives a speech, and she talks to the Grand Council and to the coven, and she tells them everything she's learned after the ceremony and stuff, and then we're going to go on to book 2 maybe. There's a whole lot in here that I haven't covered in any of these outlines. There's still some more work to do, but so far so good. I'm thinking that, like I said, the Elixir is more or less her, 1, the justice, the witch being killed in a like manner, 2, the being made head of the coven and the ceremony and the talk with her grandmother. And Elixir is kind of a peace of mind because she's gone back to what was originally something she didn't want to have anything to do with, and now is whole world. I mean, it's that this is her world now, the witchy world. She's become head of the coven. She's gotten justice for her grandmother. She's learned how to control and wield her powers. She's learned about so much more than just her basic powers, but she's actually had this dreamscape and talked to her ancestor. So we're at a good place. I'm still kind of figuring some more things out, but so far so good. I need to really sit down and handwrite all of this out and do a little bit more. Thank you and have a good one.